Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Power Awakening podcast. And today, my guest is Eirik. Eirik is working also with men's in Oslo. And therefore, I felt the minimum we sit down and have a podcast and talk about what he's doing. Because you have very good tools to awaken people's power. I also have some tools that I use. And we always have to find the right tool for our things. So that's why it's good to have a lot of tools in our psychological tool bag.
Mm-hmm.
So Eirik is here to talk about his work, how he managed to get to this level of consciousness and mental health. So what I wanted to say in this podcast in the beginning is, why are we making podcasts and podcasts? Because there is millions of very famous people all around the world with all the amazing knowledge and everything. But only one thing I always miss, to sit down with these people and ask them, or go to their groups and let's see how can they further develop myself. So here you will have people who are available in Oslo or in Norway, and now you can just reach out to them. Eirik, could you please introduce yourself to our podcast or podcast listeners? Who are you? What do you do in regards to men's work?
In regards to men's work, oh my God. So firstly, I'm a man, so that's very relatable to men's work. And I have a strong sense that the humor is the way to go when we're going to change people's lives. I have 2 kids. I love to be in nature, and that's where I find my masculine power. When I'm in the forest, where I'm in the mountains, if I'm in the oceans. So I'm a very big user of nature. In order to describe how I got into men's work, I think I need to kind of give a context outside of maybe what's not really relevant as men's work, but I started out in 2003 as a massage therapist while I was studying chiropractic. And so I have a long history of working with a lot of clients and patients and seeing how physical pain is very related to psychological pain and emotional pain and spiritual pain. And I quickly saw that people won't get well from physical tension and pain if they don't deal with the rest of life. They need to deal with their stress levels, emotional levels, job, careers, families, relationship, ancestry, lineage, everything. And that put me on a track of talking to people, facilitating dialogues, inner dialogue and outer dialogue with men and women and all aspects of society. So I was working with athletes, I was working with salespeople, I was working with teachers, plumbers, anything. And then I started to specialize towards people that wanted to change their environment, that are really ready for the change. So I started working solely with people that were able and capable to really do some good change, because I wanted to see a lot of change in society faster. So I chose to work with people who were strong-minded but still had lots to learn. And in 2017, I had my first men's group. And I started it out of my own interest, because I was getting bored with the men in Oslo and Norway. The male friends I had, they were partying, they were drinking, they were talking about cars, they were talking about their job careers, and it was all these materialistic things, which are great. I love materialistic things, but I wanted to have deeper conversations with men. Prior to that, the deeper conversations I had was with girlfriends and relationships with women. So I wanted to change that for my own sake. So I started my first men's group in 2017. bunch of friends, and they were all like-minded people. They were all game changers and leaders in their respective fields, and we were a really cool group. And then COVID came, and actually the police came to our door because we were having a men's group during the COVID. We were 10 men in one room, and there were 3 police women that came into the men's group. It was actually a funny scenario because they were like, "What are you guys doing here? Are you having a party or something?" "No, we're actually men hugging and talking about feelings and everything that we need to do in these times." And one of them got so, she wasn't crying, but you could see that she was really moved from the experience. So we didn't get a fine. The fine was like 100,000 kroners, but we got off. And then after, when COVID was finished, I saw that this experiment on society was really devastating. People were afraid to touch each other. People were afraid to talk closely to each other. So I decided to just gather as quickly as they opened up. I decided to let's go and create more men's groups. So I put out a calling on Facebook and Instagram and said, "Hey, any man in Oslo that is curious on starting their own men's circle, join this Friday, the 16th of October or something like that." And in that group, there were 45 men that came, and 15 of those men started their own men's circles. So that was like one big single event. And after that, I've been creating smaller groups and bigger groups. And now we're doing retreats for men, and we're actually starting a club. Then we want our own clubhouse, just like the Conduit. We want our own clubhouse. It might be at the Conduit, or it might be somewhere else. But we're looking to get a clubhouse with like lions in the front and a pool table, and we do all different sorts of activities, including men's work in that group. So yeah, that was the long form of introduction. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah.
It was interesting. You mentioned you wanted to have deeper conversations out of the everyday topics from the material world. Because basically, when people are unconscious, psychologically unconscious means like you just do everyday things, work, eat, sleep, just basics.
Yeah.
You're living in the material life.
Yeah.
And then people start to awaken. Then they start to feel the need of more. So it was similar to me. That is moved me to create basically these men's groups, men and women groups, to do power awakening. Because I experienced power loss. And then I managed to get back always. And I noticed that it's not only me. Once I joined groups, because in the groups others also started to open up about this. So I found it very healing to just be in groups. Even I don't say anything, just hear everything. Because I can relax like, it's not only me who have this problem and that problem. And people, they were from their 19s until 80s. And those who have been in their 60s, they share the same.
Yeah.
And I was okay, it's not just age related, it's much more. So why it's important to have groups, to attend any group, is basically to hear about that it's not only me who have the difficulties, and I can also hear solutions, like how somebody overcome of that fear or that one or that one. And then I can start to figure out like, okay, how can I do mine? How was it for you, if we go back again in these years? When did you experience power loss, and when did you recognize that you do power awakening or something to get back to balance? When did you do this conscious?
Before I answer that, I just want to compliment something that you said, because it's so important what you just said in terms of when you started seeing these people, in all these men in different ages, you saw that everybody had similar challenges and problems. That is very important to understand, because all the men that are not in power, they're sitting alone being depressed, or they're working too hard and they're just trying to hang on to life, or they're burnt out or whatever. They feel very alone with their stuff. And once you get into the group, they see like, oh my God, we all have the same challenges. I think that's the most important thing to put out there for men who hasn't been in a men's group before, because that's the real value. All the tools, yeah, they're great, but the real value is to feel that you're not alone. Because when it comes down to it all, like I've been facilitating maybe, I don't know, 1,000 men now, and they're talking about the same things, all of them. It's just different colors and shapes and forms and structures and how it represents. So I just wanted to like emphasize that for listeners that might not be in a men's group to push them to go forward. Hi, my name is Eirik Skarholt. I'm one of the founders of Kraftkara. We do men's work in all different combinations. On the 20th of February, we're doing a free event including breathwork, meditation, authentic relating, and connecting to other men, because we're starting a club as soon as possible. On the 20th of March, we have another event, a retreat in the forest in Nordmarka, where we're gathering 25 guys who wants to connect more with their power, be more transparent about their challenges, and meet like-minded people, men, to connect and share and be vulnerable and open with. Welcome. I experienced my first power loss when I was 15. No, not 15, sorry, 19. Or maybe 15 as well, but 19 is the one that was very strong. I was building a career in snowboarding, and I was going to be a professional snowboarder. And I wasn't the most talented snowboarder, but I was very fearless. I could go and do crazy stuff off cliffs and stuff like that. And I was building my career. I was going to be a professional. All the women was going to love me, and I was going to get tons of money. And then I destroyed my body in an accident. And I remember the day I was sitting at the hospital in the wheelchair. The accident was just 3 hours past. And I was sitting in the wheelchair outside the hospital waiting for the doctors and everything. And I had my first cigarette in like 2 years, because I quit smoking because I wanted to become a professional snowboarder. And I had my first cigarette again in 2 years. And I was like, I had a cigarette, and I was like, my life's over. It's complete. It's done. My dreams are shattered, because my knee was like this. It was like a basketball, and it was twisted, and it was broken, and everything was torn in there. So it was just game over. I knew it was game over for my career. And my snowboarding was an outlet for all my rage, because I had a lot of rage. I had a lot of energy that I couldn't put somewhere. So snowboard was my arena to feel balanced and in harmony and present and grounded. So I kind of lost my dreams, but I also lost my outlet. And I couldn't move. I was in bed for like 6 weeks. And I couldn't walk on the feet, even with crutches. It was just severe pain. So that was my first power loss, and to answer your next question, how did I get out of it? I think that inside every human being, there's a power source that just never wants to give up, that always wants to get up and go forward. And I think the younger you are, the easier it is to get up. The older you get and you get smashed, the harder it is, because you get older. And if you don't teach yourself the tools to stay healthy, it gets harder to get up. If you get the flu when you're 60, it's devastating. You're sick for probably weeks. If you get the flu when you're 20, you can still work, you know. So I think I didn't have any tools at the time, but I was sent to a chiropractor, and the chiropractor was very positive. I was sent to a physical trainer, and that trainer was very positive. So I think I got up because I had good people to motivate me to get up and try to get back on track and start thinking about other things to do. But it was a 2-year period to get up from that one. And I think to specifically answer your question, I would say it was strong people who was motivating me to get up and fix my body. Together with this inner force, this soul or this essence or this rawness that like, I'm not laying down here. I'm going up and living my life. So, yeah. So that was my first.
And how was the next one, if you remember that one, like memorable?
Yeah, I'm prepared for this for these questions because you asked me specifically to go into this. So this was the first one I wanted to mention, and the second one was when I had an employer, and we didn't have contracts, so there was no written contracts with the employer. It was a kind of a half shady operation, and we agreed on some terms for me to work with him. And then and I said, we need a contract, and after a year, we need to renegotiate. We never wrote the contract. When we renegotiate the contract, we didn't write that either down, and we didn't get a new contract. And then I was there for 2 years, and then after 2 years, the manager came over to me and he said, hey, Eirik, the numbers that you are producing in terms of economy doesn't match what you are invoicing us. There's a gap about 350,000 kroners. What's going on? And I said, well, I don't know. What's going on? And then he asked me about the contract. And I said, well, we had this contract, and then we renegotiated that contract, but we didn't have any written. And he goes, you renegotiated a contract like that? That's not what your boss says. He says that you only had one contract. I said, no, that's bullshit. And then it was a big, like, a thing there, because it was me against him, and then the manager was in the middle, and there was no contract, so there was no legal things to put on. And he accused me of being a criminal. He accused me of underslå, is what it's called in Norwegian. It's basically you're trying to steal money from the company. And it almost ended up in a fight. But that guy was he was a fighter, and he was stronger, and he was meaner, and he was tougher. So I just put my arms out, and I said, if you wanna do something, you can break all my bones, because you can beat me up anytime. Otherwise, I'm leaving. And then we left. So, and then he owed me, because I had invoiced a couple of 150,000 kroners or something like that. So he didn't give that back to me, because he thought I was stealing from him. So that put me in an economical situation that gave me a bigger power loss, and I also started doubting myself. Like, did I do this unconsciously? Is he right? I started questioning myself, because it was very hard accusations. I started to question my own integrity. I started to question my own goals and my ambitions and my service. What am I doing? So I was very lost at the time, and on top of that, I've kind of reached all my goals with my body work and coaching career. I had coached and worked physically with top athletes, winning gold medals and billionaires and etc. So I was like, why am I doing this service? I didn't feel satisfied working with these top people. So there was that and the economical situation. I started questioning everything. And that was when I was 35, so it's about 12 years ago. And basically what pulled me out was I had a lot of good conversation with my father. And that was really valuable, because my father had been very distant in my life. he'd been working 14 hours a day for my entire life. Even though when I had that crisis, he was still working 14 hours a day and traveling 200 days a year, being a businessman. So he was very distant. So actually that crisis brought my dad and me together, and we were having long walks in the forest and talking about things. And he started relating to his crisis, and we had really good conversations, father and son, and it brought us closer together. So that was one of the things that brought me back into power. And I think the similarities before the first example and the next, this one, is to reach out and ask people for help. A lot of people think they have to sit with their pride. I created this, I have to fix this. You know, it's a very masculine thing to do. I fix my own things. But the power of just reaching out a hand, hey, I need a conversation, or I need money, or I need support, or I need healing. Men are so proud, they don't ask for help. But if you're a man and you ask for help, that's the most powerful thing you can do, because you grow faster. And then I had a lot of tools at the time as well. So I asked for help. My father helped me out with conversations. He helped me out economically as well to just get on a little bit back on track with a loan. And I had many tools. I've been doing yoga for almost 12 years. I was a Qigong instructor. I was doing breath work since 2005. Meditation since I was 15. So at the time I had a lot of tools to also go deep into the deeper traumas and wounds of my childhood, of my whole upbringing, and etc. etc. So yeah.
So then you started after the accident with the physical body to build it back, and then you continued in career, and then when you experienced again a power loss, you find a way. You figured out the way of getting back the power, and basically it was talking, asking help. It's such a good action in this case, right? Just talking about stuff.
Yeah. I think that's 50% of the job, and the 50% is other tools.
Yeah, the emotional intelligence basically builds when you start to open up, and there is a space to open up. Because there is many families where there is father and mother busy at work, then people left alone. So there is no memory about opening up to anyone because we are alone. So I think it also contributes to the fact that people just feel like they have to just be with the thing and do something, or just carry the heavy stuff. Because then you experience how good it is to open up with someone, and it's so beautiful that it was your father. And then you had also the other methods to get back to balance with all these what you mentioned, like breathwork, yoga, qigong, because that's how we started basically the podcast, that we need certain tools in life. When we get into a crisis or power loss, we can go back to these tools to regain power, to be able to deal with the actual situation. And I just noted down that if people don't do inner work is just, as you said, talk. That's where we start. You don't have to go to a psychologist immediately and whatever. Just come to a place where you can talk, someone who can listen to you. Because what I used to tell to people, even when we are just two of us, when I talk, I can find my solution by talking about the problem. You don't even have to ask.
Exactly.
But when we are alone, it's not the easiest. Of course, there are ways, but it's much easier just to talk than talk.
Yes.
And those who miss these inner work parts, they will have less and less tools because they didn't even gain any tools.
Yep.
So falling into financial crisis or emotional crisis in a marriage, in a relationship, or just alone in life, it's very dangerous without tools.
Yes.
Because what people used to take when they are in pain, something that is painkiller or pain reliever, it can be then any addiction, basically,
Yes.
any, from scrolling till drugs, till alcohol, anything.
Yes.
So that's what I noticed when I watched one of my favorite psychologist podcasts, and there were very famous people in their 50s, 60s, and when they were talking, it was just very interesting. I felt that they didn't do any inner work, and of course it was quite evident, so he didn't even point it out. It was just a good example how not to live, basically. If you miss all this inner work, you miss all the tools, and then it can end up in addiction, crap life, feeling shit. I need something to make me feel good, whatever it is. But if we have the tools for balance, you can anytime just get back to balance. You need some time, maybe, or just any group where you used to go, and then get back on track.
Exactly.
What would be your last words in this episode?
I think when it comes to addictions, I think people need to realize that if they're taking cocaine, it's because they have lack of confidence. If they're taking MDMA or ecstasy, it's because they lack love and compassion. If they're smoking weed, they're having a lack of flow and letting go and being more in the feminine energies. If they're drinking too much alcohol, they're suppressing themselves because alcohol is just taking away your brain so that your true self can come out. In Norway, you have an expression which is, you shall hear the truth from children and drunk people. Because when you're drunk, all your filters are away and your truth comes out. So I think people should see these addiction things that they're taking, if it's coffee or alcohol or whatever it is, and see what that makes them to become is what they need to cultivate within themselves.
Perfect. Thank you very much for summing up. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And now we will have some break and we will come back in the next one. Please stay with us.